Catching kids about emotion. In a small town nestled by a forest, there was a cozy little school where the children loved to learn. One bright morning, their teacher, Mrs. Hazel, decided to teach them something special about emotions. Today, we're going to explore our feelings, Mrs. Hazel said with a kind smile. Emotions are like colors. They can be bright or dark, happy or sad, but they are always important. The children looked at each other, curious. Mrs. Hazel pulled out a large box filled with colorful paper. These colors represent different feelings, she explained. Each one is a clue to what's happening inside us. She held up a red piece of paper. Red represents anger, she said. It's like when you're upset because something didn't go your way. But remember, it's okay to feel angry. The important thing is to express it in a healthy way. The children nodded. Little Timmy raised his hand. But what if we get too angry? He asked. Mrs. Hazel smiled. Good question, Timmy. When you're too angry, it's helpful to take a deep breath, count to 10, or talk about why you're upset. It helps the anger go away faster. Next, Mrs. Hazel held up a blue piece of paper. Blue represents sadness, she said. Sadness can happen when you lose something or when something doesn't turn out the way you wanted it. But just like the rain that comes before the rainbow, sadness will pass, and you will feel better. Sophie, who had a quiet smile, raised her hand. I felt sad when my pet bird flew away. It made me feel blue, she said softly. Mrs. Hazel nodded. That's a beautiful way to express it, Sophie. It's okay to feel sad when things like that happen. Talking about it with someone helps, too. Then, Mrs. Hazel picked up a bright yellow piece of paper. Yellow is for happiness. It's when we feel good inside, like when we play with our friends or get a hug from someone we love. Charlie, who always had a big smile, raised his hand excitedly. I feel happy when I play with my dog in the yard. It makes me feel like jumping. The class laughed, and Mrs. Hazel nodded. Exactly, Charlie. Happiness is a wonderful emotion to feel, and we should cherish it when we have it. Lastly, Mrs. Hazel held up a green piece of paper. Green stands for calm, she said. This is when you feel peaceful and at ease, like when you're lying in a hammock on a sunny day or reading a good book. Lucy, who was always quiet but thoughtful, spoke up. I feel calm when I'm with my mom at the park. We sit together, and I just feel happy and peaceful. Mrs. Hazel smiled warmly at her students. You see, every emotion we feel is important. It's okay to feel angry, sad, happy, or calm. But what matters most is how we understand and express our emotions. The children smiled, feeling a little wiser. Mrs. Hazel encouraged them to talk to each other about their feelings, to share their emotions with friends and family, and to always remember that their feelings, whatever they